little bit of recruiting, okay? Because it's recruiting season. That's what summer is about. A lot of people think summer is about getting ready for college football. Nah, summer is about locking in the next class. And even now, as we are talking about transfer portals and we're talking about paying players, you still got to recruit the best and the brightest out of high school, like any university, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's a good place to start with 2025 quarterback and USC commit JuJu Lewis, who is already making a little bit of scratch, right? By a car for himself, by a car for his daddy, right? Now he's got a couple of visits that we're going to pay attention to. One to USC, June 7th, where he is committed. But I think the more interesting one is on June 21st with Colorado. Now, thing that is really interesting about that is, first and foremost, I think JuJu Lewis should take all of his visits. I don't think anybody begrudges him that. Taking one to Colorado is about gauging how much money you can make out there. They have already started to put together a campaign to try to get that dude over to Boulder for 2025 and to flip his commitment. And given what Prime has been able to do in as far as bringing eyeballs to the University of Colorado, have a 5-star quarterback next to him to do that can only help make everybody more money, right? Grow the pie, as they say. It's also important because Shedeur Sanders is going to the NFL next year. We know this. This is known. We also have folks that believe that Coach Prime ain't got no reason to stay at Colorado once Shedeur Sanders and Shiloh Sanders are gone to the NFL. I think there's some credence to that because Prime got into coaching to coach his boys. He watched them play in Little League. He didn't like the way the coach was coaching him, thought he was going to get him hurt. He found himself getting up out of his chair more often than not to go to correct something or to help. And before you know it, he's coaching the teams. And he did that in high school at Trinity. And he did that at Jackson State. And now he's done it at Colorado. Everywhere that they have gone, he has gone. So if you think that he would follow them to the NFL, you got a point given what we've seen in the past, right? I think that a JuJu Lewis could help put down all of that and be like, no. He has a 5-star quarterback coming in as an heir apparent to Shedeur, who has the goods to play right away. Now, the goods is also debatable depending on who you want to talk to, because from a recruiting standpoint, the only thing that is 5-star about him, his superpower, I should say, is his touch. JuJu Lewis can put a ball wherever he wants to. He can throw it over the top of coverages. He can drop it in the bucket. He is slight, though, so he's not elite in build, 6'1", 185, okay? He also ain't the fastest dude in the world, so he ain't going to outrun people like, say, Malik Hornsby can outrun people, to use another dude that plays quarterback and is fast. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have elite awareness outside of the pocket, but he gets the ball out of his hands quickly. There's a reason why 5 stars next to him, but I'm telling you, the reason you would want him is because he's going to be accurate with the ball, which is what Shedeur is. If you give Shedeur time, he's going to pick you apart. He's a good enough quarterback, right? What you can't really help is the offensive line. So given what JuJu might think he can make as a Colorado quarterback, what the offensive line can do in 2024 is going to have more to do that. Say what you want about Lincoln Riley, and we do. Lincoln Riley will put an offensive line out there that at the very least will give the quarterback an opportunity to win the Heisman Trophy. We know this, right? Did it at Oklahoma, done it at USC. We'll see what Miller Moss does, right? The last thing I think is important about JuJu Lewis taking a visit to Colorado is just another way for which Colorado is winning. Colorado went 4-8 in 2023. Again, had mass exodus in the transfer portal. Had some dudes come in, but it was basically 1 for 1, right? I don't think the roster got that much better. I think the roster is about the same. Now, continuity might actually force them to be better, but they're going into a new league where they know some people, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and they don't know others that are really good. Kansas, Oklahoma State coming to mind, Texas Tech, West Virginia, right? You're going to have to show. You're going to have to prove. And then your non-conference is not only not sexy, it's hard. You got North Dakota State coming to your house. And I'm here to tell you, that's a flipped coin for me, dog. They're good enough to beat them. Then Nebraska, who's coming on with Tommy White in that defense. Then Colorado State, who gave you the what, 4 and a how now. And Shedeur Sanders need to come up with a 98-yard drive to beat Colorado State. That ain't what you want going into this all-important 12-team playoff where you could be one of these teams that has a spot in that first round of games, and maybe you get to host one, right? It's a lot riding on this. for Colorado. And if they get a guy like JuJu Lewis to flip his commitment, let's say before the season start, that's found money. Again, JuJu committed to USC last August. We'll see if that sticks, right? One more thing to note about this, as I go talking about Cormani McClain, is JuJu Lewis might learn something from Cormani McClain, okay? Cormani McClain has committed to transfer from Colorado to Florida. What's interesting about this is that he was a 5-star cornerback who flipped his commitment from Miami to Colorado, mostly on the strength of being able to play for the greatest defensive back of all time and at a program that many people felt good about, myself included, right? And through the first 3-4 games of the season, we had every right to feel good about them, right? What they did on the road at Texas Christian, who was a ranked opponent, really springboards them into the next place, right? People would say Cormani McClain didn't play that much. Well, he played more than you think. He started 4 games, and he played 9. Now, Prime had his issues with McClain, notably, hey, man, do you know the playbook? Are you attending meetings? Do you show out in practice? Right? It's real simple. One thing led to another, and Cormani McClain and Colorado no longer vibing. He goes into the portal 1 month after saying, I'm not transferred, which I thought was funny. And then tries to drag Colorado through the mud by saying, I didn't come here for clicks. Yes, hell you did. You committed and then went on Well Out Media to go talk about why you committed. Yes, that's on YouTube. Where we at right now? It's for clicks. That's the whole get down. Clicking. Because clicking is where the people are. Clicking is where the money is. Now, no shade, but don't talk like you didn't come here to do that. That's why you go to Colorado. And he's transferred to Florida as a walk-on. All right, let me say that again. He's walking on to the University of Florida 1 year after being the best cornerback in his class coming out of the state of Florida. What I'm saying is, what everybody said, what all the coaches want you to know is, if you go into the portal after having shown something on film, it doesn't matter if you're a 5-star. The phone ain't going to be ringing off the hook to try to get you in here. Now, I think NIL is going to pick up the tab for most of the tuition and the room and board for Cormani McClain to go to Gainesville, but they're due from Orlando, right? So he's getting closer to home. It also underscores what Florida is getting. Florida got a distressed asset that they could probably find some way to refresh. They got Jason Marshall out there, who I think is going to be a 1st-round pick, former 5-star. They're pretty good at the other corner position. And I think given some time, you grow that dude up, he becomes one of your stalwarts in 2025. And you ain't got to give up nothing. Think about this. You're basically getting a 1st-round draft pick for undrafted free agent money. You take that every step of the way. Now, does it usually work out? No. That's the problem here if you're a Florida fan, right? But you ain't losing nothing. You don't lose a scholarship. You don't lose no money. And you add talent that you can rebuild into something that could be absolutely great, even for the Thorpe Award, if the talent reaches its potential. And that's what Cormani McClain can do. JuJu Lewis might look at this and say, yo, dog, what happens if it doesn't work out? What happens if he shows up and he throws more interceptions than he throws touchdowns? And we think about him the way that we think about Malachi Nelson, who cut bait and ran to Boise State rather than go there and fight with Miller Moss for the starting job. 5-star doesn't mean what it used to, is the point here. 5-star is only as good as you step foot on a football field in the college atmosphere, and then you make good. Everybody ain't Trevor Lawrence. That's everybody ain't Caleb Williams. But if you are Lincoln Riley, that is what I would tell JuJu Lewis. I make Heisman winners. I make 1st-round draft picks. You need to stick with me. And if he want to go to Colorado, you let him go and go with God, because you're going to try to turn Miller Moss into a Heisman finalist, and I think you could do that. Really, really fascinating stuff when we're talking about the recruiting, because we're going to see lots of these scholarships go away, and we're going to see these recruiting classes get smaller. One other thing to note here is Colorado has been in the transfer market more than most, okay? It goes without saying that Prime will go into the portal and get a quarterback if he must. That also could lead you back to maybe he doesn't need JuJu Lewis, but he sure as hell would like to have him. And that's where we're at. We're in a nice to have moment, okay? If you got a dude that can play, you pay that dude to play. If you don't have a dude that can play, you send him into the portal, you go bring somebody else that can. This is going both ways, okay? This is going both ways. Last thing I want to hit on here is the commitment of Madden Iamaleava, who went to UCLA. And really, is the second biggest recruit of the Deshaun Foster era, because the biggest recruit is Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator, Super Bowl winning champ, you know what I'm saying? National champ as a running back. Eric Bieniemy, that dude. And Eric Bieniemy set his sights on Madden and said, I need you at UCLA with me. And he said, bet, coach, I'm there. For those of you that are living underneath that particular rock, Madden Iamaleava is the younger brother of Nico Iamaleava, okay? The starting quarterback at Tennessee. I was interested because I said, hey, yo, what? Madden started for the first time in 2023, and he was great. Like, he had over 3,600 yards passing, 43 TDs, and 4 picks at Downey Warren. To which I said, wait, usually if you are a blue chip quarterback, 4-star or better, you be starting as a sophomore, maybe a freshman. And then I learned, oh yeah, he was starting behind his older brother. Like he's backing up his older brother. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, I get it. I understand. My fault. I get it. It's your turn now, right? And he's been showing out like it's his turn now. What's cool about that is you have an heir apparent for what I think is going to be the Ethan Garber's year in UCLA. But you also got a DeMarcus Davis who transferred in from Washington, who I think is tooly and the most talented guy in that quarterback room. He just might not be all the way there from what Bieniemy might want to see from him in the decision-making on the field presence. Ethan Garbers, who is the younger brother of San Antonio Brahma starting quarterback, Chase Garbers. There's my UFL plug for this here live show. But it also kind of underscores what we all know still to be true. Quarterbacks. We're going to recruit them out of high school. We're going to try to keep them in the boat. If it doesn't work out, we'll move on. But for the most part, you need a great quarterback coming out of high school who's been prepared and groomed for this position since he was a very young child. That part is not going to change. Everybody else, you can kind of get them off the street. But quarterbacks are always going to move this sport because quarterback is the most important position in football. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.